Zach Cregger made a splashy foray into horror with 2022's Barbarian, a shape-shifting slow burn full of satisfying twists and well-pitched dark humor that invited hair-raising questions about what may be going on behind your neighbor's door, or indeed inside their basement. His new movie Weapons may be rooted in similar themes, but Cregger has refined his touch here, crafting an absolutely delicious, scary yet funny blockbuster that just never lets up.
I just want to say how very sorry I am for...
She should be locked up until she tells us what happened.
A testament to the power of a good hook, Weapons opens by laying out its central mystery. Why did nearly 20 kids, all from the same classroom in the small town of Maybrook, suddenly awake one night, leave their homes, and disappear into the darkness? Recounted in hushed, around the campfire tones, the story has a feeling of urban myth, which is reinforced by a haunting montage of children streaming out into the street, arms straight out at their side like effed up little airplanes. The eyes of Maybrook naturally turn to the missing kid's teacher, Justine Gandy, who has a checkered past when it comes to respecting boundaries with her pupils. During a meeting between parents, teachers, and police, Justine is chased out of the room following accusations from one of the grieving fathers, Archer. All of that is covered in the first few minutes of Weapons, and it makes up the bedrock that is revisited time and again across its 128-minute runtime. It's also pretty much every part of the plot that's safe to discuss without ruining all the clever turns that lie ahead.
We have a lot of emotional parents here. I think it's best if you keep some distance from this place.
From that primal starting point, Weapons unfurls itself in time-hopping chapters that afford the story a tremendous sense of scope in spite of its relatively small setting. Each segment takes its time to dig into how the disappearances have affected the lives of those closest to the situation, and Zach Cregger takes care to introduce the audience to the characters in quiet, personal moments of struggle. No one person's perspective feels more important than any other's, and what's revealed by these various vantage points makes us constantly reassess our own view of Weapons' bigger picture. But as useful as the chapter structure is for giving the characters a common level of depth, Cregger wields it most effectively to ratchet tension. With each chapter illuminating some new clue or development, he establishes a potent pattern. Build to a fever pitch, then reset. But that tension doesn't just go away because we're suddenly in another character's shoes, it's being banked for later, to propel Weapons toward a conclusion that is satisfying even if you manage to suss out where it's headed. The pieces Cregger has set in motion in both the foreground and background fall into place marvelously and cascade through an unforgettable finale that more than earns its big cheer moments. The tonal command Cregger showed in Barbarian is more focused this time around. In the seamless patchwork of bleak terror and black humor, each trip through a dark house or neighborhood feels equally likely to pay off with a laugh or a scare. And when Cregger does choose violence, it does not disappoint. There are plenty of squirm-worthy moments where sharp things go places they shouldn't, or characters snap and attack one another with shocking brutality. But there are just as many lingering, long shots on dread-inducing dangers making their way towards the characters. The result is a movie that feels like Russian roulette for the senses. Cregger's confidence in his own voice really comes out in one character and performance with particularly great results. To identify that character and performer would ruin some surprises, but it must be said that they sort of run away with Weapons at a certain point.
The truth is that I want an answer just as bad as all of you.
From top to bottom, though, the cast proves adept at performing Cregger's tonal high-wire act, with Julia Garner and Josh Brolin anchoring other focal points like school principal Marcus, played by Benedict Wong, and town cop Paul, played by Alden Ehrenreich. Justine may be well-intentioned, but she is ill-suited to the crisis at hand. Garner foregrounds Justine's paranoia and jitters, a fragility that is expertly cut by her blunt interactions with her more dubious neighbors. Justine and Paul have a history that complicates their ability to make good choices together, and Ehrenreich keeps this in focus throughout Paul's chapter of Weapons, ably playing the nuances of his shifting personality.
What do you see that I don't?
It's during that segment that we meet another scene stealer, transient drug addict James, played by Austin Abrams. Playing high off his rocker and nervy as hell, Abrams bumbles through some of the most crucial landmarks on the board, providing some of the movie's only pure comedy moments. Nearly every one of his lines gets a laugh. And I want to stop down here for a second and just mention real quick that Zach Cregger, who directed this movie, directed Barbarians, is currently slated to direct the new Resident Evil movie. We don't know a ton about that at this point, but we do know that Austin Abrams is starring in it. And let me tell you, based on his performance here in Weapons, I am very, very interested in a very positive way in what Austin Abrams is going to do in the lead for that movie. Very excited to see what Cregger does there. Back to Weapons. Cary Christopher also deserves a mention for his wonderful performance as Alex, the only one of Justine's students who didn't disappear. Alex is thrust into circumstances that are unquestionably too heavy for someone his age, but Christopher contends with them admirably.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Archer, meanwhile, sits in a comfortable spot for Josh Brolin. The same hot-tempered man who accosts Justine publicly is also a despondent father sleeping in his missing son's bed, frustrated by a slow-moving police investigation that he outpaces with little effort. In spite of his many missteps, Archer remains easy to root for because Brolin lets enough vulnerability and desperation into his performance.
Why just her classroom? Why only hers?
Cregger's work here is supported at every turn by cinematographer Larkin Seipel. Whether inside homes or out in the neighborhood, Seipel is great at creating pockets of darkness or lines of sight that could conceal any ready-to-pounce threat. But Seipel, who is best known for his work on Everything Everywhere All at Once, is also very keyed into Cregger's genre-bent sensibility and creates a dynamic visual language that leaves enough space for both visceral classic horror imagery as well as flashes of slapstick comedy action. There's one chase through a gas station that brings both of these elements together beautifully. A prolonged confrontation that borders on farce, but only until the moment that the assailant catches up with their target and reality comes crashing in. Cregger and Seipel even get to play in a more impressionistic space during a pair of spooky dream sequences, which each spin up an off-putting and surreal atmosphere that nicely evokes the visual and auditory quirks of a real-life nightmare.
This is a true story that happened right here in my town.
Weapons is a righteous, fully actualized genre bender in which writer-director Zach Cregger hones Barbarian's blend of unbearable tension and dark humor to a new level of razor sharpness. The mystery of a mass disappearance and its impact on a small town unfold in a fascinatingly layered way that gives every character a chance to shine. Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, and Alden Ehrenreich lead a cast whose fine-tuned performances all align with and support Cregger's delicate film-long balancing act. Thank you so much for watching. For more movie reviews, check out what we thought of Fantastic Four: First Steps and Happy Gilmore 2. Shout out New Hampshire King Adam Sandler. And as always, for more movie reviews, you're already in the right place. IGN.